All right, everybody. Hey, thank you for attending Joe McNamee's live questions and answers, and we'll get started now.
Okay, Vicky, so I believe that this thing has already started recording. I think it's an automatic thing now. So yeah, it is. Okay, now I can tell. They change this stuff on us all the time. Well, anyway, everyone, one more thing I got to do is get this off of my screen. So, okay. So we're not used to doing this, Vicky and I. Usually Courtney does this, or Amanda does it, or Heather does it, or someone else. But so now we're kind of getting used to doing this on our own, but we're not used to it yet. So hopefully this is coming through okay. So if you'll just let Vicky know by raising your hand that you're able to hear us okay, we'd appreciate that. But let me go ahead and get started here. We have the first thing I want to cover before we get into the Q&A is I want to talk about early retirement. Now, early retirement can mean several different things to several different people. But I've gone through this many times before, and my typical direction is I go, okay, everyone out there, how much money will it take for you to be able to live comfortably, live with your current standard of living without having to work? So remember, if you're figuring out what that number is, and you have not taken into consideration that you don't have a dry cleaning bill anymore if you had a dry cleaning bill with your job. You don't have all that travel going on back and forth to work. Any other expenses that you have with working whatever kind of job you've been working. So deduct that from it. And then your standard of living, your current standard of living, what does it take for you to be able to live comfortably? What kind of an income? And some people, they don't understand the question. They go, whoa, well, I would make, $50,000 a month. Well, the question is, what does it take to maintain your current standard of living? So I'm not talking about, being able to go and do every single thing you want to do, when you want to do it, all the time. I'm just talking about maintaining your current standard of living. So that's your living expenses, eating expenses, your expense for having some sort of means of travel, and that's where we're coming from. Okay, so now I'm going to go from a little different perspective now on that same idea. So let's go into what it looks like if you were an average person getting ready to retire. So first thing I can do, there we go. So I just grabbed one of these. This is a standard individual with a retirement age of 62 or 66 years, 8 months, or 70. All right, so there's a few things that I got to say up front before we get into the rest of these numbers, and that is that you really have to pay attention to Social Security and what you can and can't do, how much you are and are not allowed to earn if you're collecting Social Security. And there's certain rules that apply. I've seen and read things that there's a certain dollar figure you can't make above a certain amount until you're a certain age. And then I've seen other things that say that that's true, but it doesn't count things like real estate and stuff like that, income from that. So I don't know what the right answer is there. It's not something that I just turned 60, but it's not something that I care to even ever worry about. But the bottom line is this average person right here that we're talking about is if they retire at 62, their monthly income is $1,207 a month from Social Security. So if they go ahead and take the early retirement. Now, if you wait until the full-blown amount, which used to be 65, now it's 66 years and 8 months for this individual. So 66 years and 8 months, they'll collect $1,674. So instead of them collecting at 62, they'd wait until they're 66 years and 8 months and then start collecting. And so then they get their Social Security benefit is $1,674 per month. If they don't collect anything and they wait until they're 70 and then they start collecting, it's $2,121 per month. All right, so that's just a snapshot of an individual 66, or they collect at 66 years and 8 months, or they collect at 70. And that's the dollar figures. So once they start collecting, let's say it's 62, they're going to be $1,207 a month for the rest of their life, plus whatever cost of living raises happened on the Social Security. Any kind of changes that happen there, then you're going to get a little increase. So if there's a 1% increase or something, then next year it's going to be 1,207 plus whatever 1% is of that. Okay, so I think that's pretty clear. But I want to take you down the road of something that would be really interesting. So if you waited, the difference, if you waited until your 70 years old, is an extra $914 per month. So instead of you getting to 1,207, it's $2,121 per month. But that's 8 years from, and we'll just say now is your 62 right now. Okay, so the challenge is, should you collect now or wait till you're 70 or do something in between? All right, and that's always a question on people's minds. And a lot of people answer this based on what their health is like. Well, as long as I'm healthy enough to keep working, I'm going to keep working as long as I can. And I understand that, and that's okay. That's an okay way of looking at it. But if you don't want to have to do that job, if you don't want to have to do that job anymore, then you're putting your life on hold for another 8 years to follow that plan. Okay? So let's just kind of take a look at this one time. So let's say you started collecting at 62. You get $1,207 a month, and that's equaling $115,872 total over 8 years. So in other words, day one is today, you're 62, and you decide, wham, bam, I am tired of working, and I'm going to start collecting my Social Security right now. Now, obviously, you have to apply months ahead of time, but let's just say it's day one, you're 62, and you've decided to retire and collect this $1,207 per month. So if you didn't collect it until you were 70, you missed out on $115,872. So the day you become 70 years old and you decide to retire then instead of 62, you start out collecting $2,121. You don't have $115,872 sitting there to use. You're collecting $2,121. It's day one, 8 years from now. Okay, everybody got that clear in their mind? All right, so now let's just kind of take a look at what you could do at that point in time. So if you take the saved Social Security, that $1,207 a month, and you take that savings right there and you hold on to it, and then you use it at the end of 8 years and create another income of $2,100 per month. Remember I said it's based on what your health is like if you were to go that direction. So 8 years from now, you saved all of that you collected at 62, and you used it to buy, you could probably get more than one property if you really looked hard. But you could pick up one property easily with $157,000 or $115,000. So an income of $2,100 a month is very realistic. Right now, I've got some properties that are similar to that. They run somewhere about $97,000, and the income on those is anywhere from $1,500 to $1,800 a month. Okay, and that's the standard income. There's additional income on top of that. So if we hold that and we've got an income of $2,100 a month at the end of 8 years, instead of us letting Uncle Sam work with our money, Uncle Sam would end up only paying us an additional $914 per month if we waited until we were 70, whereas we can take that same exact money that we are earning right now all the way up until we're 70 and use it to bump our income up by another $2,100 if we waited until we were 70. Now, the truth is, you can do that a few years earlier than that. You could do it at about 67 years old. You could take the money that you put together and turn around and buy that investment property if you were buying it with cash. So this is just using cash right now. We're not talking about any kind of creative methods at all. So that means when you retired, At 70 now, your income would not be $21.21 a month because you took your Social Security early and you held on to it and you used it to bump your income up. Your income would be $3,370 per month. So it's just another way of looking at what you can do and how you can do it. Obviously, Uncle Sam is not in the business of trying to figure out the best way to make you the most money. They've got a plan out there that takes care of people with Social Security, but it's not enough to live off of for the average person. You're going to have something else going on there too. If you're just trying to figure out how you can live off of Social Security alone, you're going to have a tough time when you get to that retirement age. Okay, so if I'm able to do that with Social Security, and I'm playing this game of holding on to that retirement money, well, I have an issue there. So I'm 62 and I've decided to start collecting my Social Security. And if I'm saving it, that means I don't have any spending money. I have nothing, no income there. So I've got to have something else going on before it gets to that point. So now we're going to talk about early retirement and doing different things like building income streams, building ways of you receiving an income now or early before it's retirement time, so that then you've got some things that are going to carry you. So let's say you put together, and typically I don't see anything more than 10 to 20 houses. Takes care of just about every single person out there when they look at it realistic. They're not buying yachts and they're not buying Gulfstream jets and they're not traveling around the world 5 to 10 times a year, but they're able to maintain their current standard of living with 10 to 20 houses. And some people are only down around needing 5 to 8 houses to do the same thing. So the income that you have off of the properties means that when it's retirement age, when you're 62, you can play that game that I just said and collect early and utilize that money to let it build to buy. And you might hold on to that $1,207 a month for let's just say, 5 years, maybe 3 years, and you have enough money to buy something cash that might need a little bit of work, or you might be able to sell it for a profit, and you use that cash from your Social Security to do that instead of going to the bank and borrowing the money or trying to rob Peter to pay Paul, or using your valuable backup savings that's sitting there in a bank account somewhere. So there's all different ways of being able to retire early and all different ways of looking at which way you should go. Now, I'm going to go back to something that I said earlier. I have read different places where you can only make a certain amount. You can't make over this amount until you're a certain age. And then I've read where it says that real estate doesn't apply and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to say it again. I don't know the answer to that. You would need to talk to someone that handles Social Security that knows all those rules and knows what you can and can't do, and if you can do this, and that means that you've got enough of an income when you retire that you're not going to be able to receive all of that Social Security, that $1,207 a month, because you make too much money, and you can only have $800 a month or whatever. Well, so what? The bottom line that I've always looked at, always seen is, there's a reason why there's a carrot in front of your nose that offers you more money for waiting later in life. And that is that the odds are greatly against you the older you get of ever being able to collect a retirement paycheck. So I firmly believe anytime you can set anything up to retire early or to receive that income early, I think you should do it. Again, it's going to depend on what the answer is to how much money you can make based on your age. So just take a look at that and understand the answers to that part of it, and then you can go down the road of deciding whether you should collect early or not. I don't ever see the benefit of waiting when you know the things that I've been teaching you. So, okay, that's about it on that retire early. Let's go ahead and see if there's any questions out there for the Q&A. So Victoria, if you would check to see if there's any questions. Victoria, I think you're still muted.
Can you hear me?
There you go. Now we can hear you.
All right. Okay. It looks like Karen has a question.
Okay.
Karen, you're unmuted. Do you have a question?
Hey, this is Wesley Smith. I think maybe we got our things crossed up, Karen and I.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry
Karen,
about
you
that.
got one heck of a deep voice there, but I'll go ahead and answer your question anyway.
That's right. It's got deeper. It's changed, huh?
You
What
doing
happened
all right?
was she.
You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Good.
Doing great. She forwarded me this link. For some reason, I didn't get it directly. So I guess when I clicked on it, it was registered to her email or something like that.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just talk in a higher voice and we'll just tend like a Karen.
Yeah.
Maybe something like this.
Go ahead, Wesley. Hit me with your question.
Yeah, I love that early retirement slide. That's pretty cool stuff. I never thought about saving that Social Security and then buying a property. That's a good idea.
Well, I mean, it's just that Social Security doesn't, $2,100 a month at the age of 70, that's just not gonna cut it. If let's say you were 62 today, well, what's the economy gonna be like 8 years from now? I mean, the way, we've got another 4% happening with an increase, our gross national product increase. Everything's going really good. The economy's booming. Well, with that comes inflation. So we're going to be dealing with inflation, and so things are going to cost more. So, but typically your pay raises don't match when inflation hits. So it goes up. You get a pay raise for 1%, but the inflation went up 2.5%. And I'm just making up numbers, but it just seems like that's what happens. So
yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, well, we actually had a seller contact us. This is just one of our newest leads that we got. We went out there and took a look at it.
Okay.
It's in a good area where people would like to live and move and rent and stuff like that. But it's a modular home.
Okay.
And it's in a neighborhood of modular homes, but the old saying, you can't fix the neighborhood, kind of applies here. There's just lots of grown-up debris and cars on blocks and stuff like that in the neighborhood, next door, across the street, et cetera.
Right.
They have big lots. I mean, they're 3/4 of an acre to an acre lots.
Okay.
And I really think it would be high demand, and she's willing to let it go for pretty inexpensive. It's been in the family. I think she bought it 20 or 25 years ago, but it's been really neglected. So there's
okay. So what's the monthly cost of it, counting everything, and then what are your buyers willing to pay for places like that in that area?
Exactly. So it's free and clear. So I'm working on an offer to her. She has a number in mind. At first she said she wanted 50,000, and then we got out there. We kind of asked her a couple times to kind of, feel her out what she wanted. And she said, well, I'd like to get 30 for it. And then we said, well, it needs to give it a work. Is there any, what do you think we could do? Could we give you some now, maybe a little bit later type thing? Seeing if she'll do terms.
Sure.
And so we put an ad on Craigslist just to kind of see what type of demand in the area would be for something like that. Because I know it would probably be between $700 to $900 a month type property.
What's your fair market rents through HUDuser.org for that area?
I don't know. We didn't punch that in, but I would imagine, because the square footage is pretty big. It's a pretty good sized modular, but it looks just like a trailer. So it's kind of like aesthetically pleasing. I don't know if that's really there, but the affordability factor I think will make it high demand. But I will punch that in after the call. I'll take a look at that. It's a great idea too. But we put it up just to see what type of response we would get. We hadn't got a whole lot yet. It's been 2 days.
Okay.
And so I just kind of wanted to see, because even if we didn't buy it, we could still hook her up with that person if they really wanted it type thing.
Right.
And but
so hit me with your question. You're asking my opinion of what I would do?
Yeah, well, it just needs a good bit of work, and I know we could do the work for equity thing with somebody moving, because more than likely it would be a blue collar person moving in that property, so they could probably take care of a lot of the stuff.
Right.
But it's just a matter of we just haven't bought modulars really, and I know that they can be cash cows. Because if we get it for cheap enough and we're making $850 a month or $800 a month, I know long term it would be a good deal because we'd have it paid off really quick if we give her a low cash offer or if we get it on terms. So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to structure a smaller one like this. I guess similar to a house, but there's no debt to take.
All right, so here's what I'd go back to her with. All right, I don't know anything about this house or this person or anything, but here is a technique, because you're describing a lot of deals that we go down the road of. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is look. You and I both know it's not worth 30. With everything that needs to be done, but I'm going to try my darndest to give you 30. Here's what I need. I would like to go to closing with you, agreeing to pay you 30, but my monthly payment to you is going to be $250 a month or $350 a month, something like that, and I'm going to take care of taxes and insurance, and I'm going to take care of all the things that need to be repaired. And we're going to go to closing on that, and so I'm buying it for the 30. And I am not going to be able to promise you when I can cash you out, but that's what I'm going to work on really hard, is getting to the point where I can cash you out. So I'm going to go ahead and put one of my tenant end buyers in place that I feel comfortable that I can work with to get them qualified to borrow the money to get you paid off just as quick as I can. I can't promise you how long it's going to take, but that's what I can do for you. That way I can get you the full 30 instead of you taking a whole lot less. All right?
Makes sense.
Now the next part of this is I'm not paying her any interest. I'm paying $250 a month, 30-year mortgage, and you can calculate out how many years that actually works out to be. But the other thing is that I'm going to work with end buyers. I'm going to get them into my funnel, so to speak. And I'm going to get the one that I think is the best one up front. The down payment money is not going to her. The down payment money is going to me to take care of covering the cost of any of the repairs if I decide to do them myself. If I got somebody who's paying me a much smaller down payment and they're doing the repairs, then that's fine. But then we're going to work with that person until we can get that property cashed out. Now, obviously, you can take some other deal somewhere else if you can get it to cash out to be able to pay her off, all right, down the road. So you can always go that route too in the event that you end up with somebody in there who's paying good, but they're never ever going to get to the point where they qualify for a loan. And you don't know that in the beginning, but you do figure that out a few years into this with somebody. Okay.
Now, let me ask you this: would a bank or a small local bank, we've got 2 or 3 that we use, would they finance a modular typically?
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with a modular home. A modular is built, the wall sections are built in a factory and they're set with a crane, and so it's all bolted together. When you're talking about a mobile home, older mobile homes, it's really hard to get bank financing on them. They're starting to come back just a little bit. It used to be simple, very easy, but a mobile home is a whole lot better product because there's so many things you can do with it. And in the event that something goes wrong, it catches on fire or a tree falls on it, or the same things that happen to any kind of house, it's very easy to remove the mobile home and put another mobile home in place for a fraction of the cost of a stick-built home. So we have a lot of people in a lot of mobile homes, and they're the ones that make us the most money. And
that's what I heard you say. That's why I don't want to walk away from this deal, but it's
we can do the best deals for other people because nobody knows what to do with a mobile home. They don't know how to work it. I just got done with doing one not more than an hour and a half ago, where they're moving into a double wide mobile home. They're only paying $3,000 down. They're paying $1,500 a month, and the property was already free and clear to me 8 years ago. So.
Yeah, I did the math on what you had told me to offer this seller. Even if we did it right in the middle at $300 a month, it'd be paid off in less than 9 years. Right. Like 100 months. So that would be, that's less than that's right at, I think, let's see, 12 times 8. Yeah, that's less than 9 years. And then who knows? Maybe she'll accept a lower payoff for a lump sum 3 or 4 years down the road.
A couple years down the road. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We've done that before on a second with people that we owe.
That's right.
Yeah.
But and as far as the neighborhood, you're not making those decisions. You're letting your buyers make those decisions. So you put the option to purchase in place, you spent $10 and you let people start looking and see what kind of offers pop up.
Okay, so we wouldn't go to closing until we had that buyer secured.
Right. You want to make sure that it's not going to be this property that nobody wants. But as soon as you find one, then go to closing, because now you know that you're going to get a lot of calls, a lot of interest.
Yeah, I think this one's like I think it's like a hybrid between a trailer and a modular. I don't know if I'd call it either one.
Does it have an axle? Is there an axle up underneath of it?
No, I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
Then that would be a modular then?
Well, it depends. I mean, you can buy a modular that is that's brought in and set down, or you can buy a modular that goes on a concrete slab just like a regular house does, and it just gets bolted together.
Right.
And then of course the mobile homes, they're pulled in. If it's a double wide, then they're pulled in. That's two loads. There's a left and a right. I'd have to see pictures of it up underneath and all to tell you for sure. But
Right.
but yeah,
All right.
there's nothing wrong with modular or mobile. And when you're spending 30 grand on a house that you can, yeah, I really like you to see what your fair market rents are. How many bedrooms is it?
It's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, about 1,250 square feet.
Okay. Yeah, so go to huduser.org and just see for that county what the fair market rents are for a 3-bedroom for 2018. So right now,
Well,
I keep this, you should print it out and set it by your desk. So I'm looking at mine. I just looked over my shoulder. So I have 5 different counties that I look at. So the number one county that I deal with all the time, a 3-bedroom is $1,453 a month, 2018. So that's the average rents by the number of bedrooms. So you should always keep that in mind.
I guess it would probably be different versus a house versus a modular too.
Well, what the government does is they keep track of the number of bedrooms. It can be a single wide tin can trailer in a trailer park, and it can be a mansion out on 12 acres that's being rented out. If both of them are 3 bedrooms, that's averaged out what the monthly rent is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means that you're not on the high end and you're not on that low end. You're somewhere in the middle. So if like I know that for the house that I just did earlier today, that's a 4.5 bedroom. There's another room that can be a bedroom. It just needs a small wall put up in a closet. And so my 4 bedrooms are $1,697 average. So that would probably be about $1,800 a month for a 5-bedroom in my area, because it only goes up to 4. But a 5-bedroom at $1,800, so I'm collecting $1,500. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, right, exactly. So even on these modulars, if they need a good bit of repair work and things like that, you don't really care. It's just a matter of what the buyer's willing to do.
Right, and you're taking that off the back end. So if you're selling it to them for $84,000 and there's $15,000 worth of work, then you take the $15,000 off the $84,000. They're still paying you down. They're still paying you the monthly.
Gotcha. They're just getting a price discount to do the sweat equity themselves.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And we've
Cool.
done that.
Awesome. Thank you.
We've done that many
Appreciate it.
times, and so have several people that are on this webinar right this minute. Done it several times. Okay.
Yeah, we've done it with houses a good bit. It's just a matter of like these little ones, and it kind of was just a sort of a rundown type neighborhood. We just wanted to make sure that
let your buyer
depends on the
decide.
buyer.
Let the buyer decide whether they want to live there. Remember, let the market speak.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, Vicki, next question. You're muted, hon.
Sorry, guys. I'm still trying to work this out. Okay.
Push the button. Push the button to talk.
Right.
Push the button
Jeff
not to
has a
talk.
question, and you're unmuted, Jeff. Well, you're muted yourself.
Jeff, push the button.
There we go.
Hello, Jeff.
I guess I'm figuring this out too.
All right, Mr. Jeff, you got a question?
I do. I met with a family about 5 days ago, and turns out they had that property listed with the realtor for about 6 months. It didn't work. and they already hired another realtor, and they've been with them for a month and a half. And I asked her, I said, well, let me ask you, what is it you're looking to walk away from the property with? How much money? And she told me $15,000. That's all she wanted. And she goes, if you can do something, it'd be great. I would move tomorrow.
Is there debt on the property?
Yes, there is.
All right. So the question is, what's the monthly obligation on the debt that's on the property? And then what are your buyers saying that they're willing to pay for a place like that in that area? And then you're looking to make sure that you've got a monthly coming in of more than what the monthly going out is. And can you find enough of a down payment in one of those buyers to be able to give her the 15 grand that she needs to walk away with? And you might find out that she's okay with walking away with less if she can get $2,000 or $3,000 now and then get the rest of it later on.
Right. And I thought the same thing. I guess my my frustration with her is, she's stuck with a realtor that's put it up on MLS and is hoping for somebody to come in.
Yeah, well, now she can always ask the realtor to release her from the listing agreement in writing, and then you get a copy of that before you start anything.
Okay. All right. I already did that.
And it could be where you have to say to her, why don't you give the realtor another 3 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever, and then I'll call you back and see where we're at. And if you've sold it, then great, I'm happy for you. If not, then let's go down the road of you asking for a release from the listing agreement.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I already have some buyers I think that would jump on it.
Okay. So if you feel pretty confident about that, then asking her, does she live in the property?
They do. And
okay.
She just wants to go move with her dad, who's home-ridden now. They just need to go take care of him. Right.
So just let her know that I've got some people right now that I think would be interested in this, but I can't do anything until the realtor's out of the way. And then let her make that decision. She might say, okay, I'm going to go with you. Or she might say, boy, I really feel bad. And then I'd ask her, well, what's happened in 6 weeks? How many people have looked at this house in 6 weeks from the second realtor? And just ask her all those things so that she can just kind of think about what's been going on and how much more time does she want to spend trying that before she goes your route.
Right. No, totally get it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Vicki, next question.
All right, next question is Lewis Weeks.
Okay,
Lewis.
Is Lewis able to come on?
Lewis, you're self-muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello?
Hey, Lewis, there you are. Are you out on the road?
Hey, yeah, I'm in St. Joseph, Michigan right now.
In Michigan?
Yeah.
All right. All right, Lewis, well, hit me with your questions.
All right. Sunday, I was able to put an option on a house. It's my first house. It's a free and clear. The guy that owns it's Spanish. So I'm trying to be as kid gloves as I can because I don't want to scare the guy off. In good faith, I agreed to paint and mow the lawn, and I just didn't know if it'd be a good idea to try to find a private lender and cash him out so I can better freely work with the buyers, or do I just go ahead and try to?
Well, you have to be careful, Lewis. You don't want to just go down the road of trying to get buyers and then just buy in houses cash, and you don't have a clue as to what kind of a buyer would fall in love with this house. So you should have put an option to purchase in place, and you should have been marketing this house. You should have been marketing this house and get an idea of what end buyers are telling you. What's the market saying to you? So how much does a house cost per month? And I know it's free and clear, but he's going to want something per month. So let's just look at how much is the taxes and insurance, and what are your end buyers willing to pay per month? What are those
Okay.
numbers?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet.
Okay. All right.
'Cause
So,
I just got.
so you don't have anything.
But I have
to go
the
back-
buyers. I have buyers. Some come with 1,000. Some come with 5,000.
What's the monthly?
I mean, I haven't really decided which one to run through there yet.
Right. What's the monthly though? You haven't answered any of the questions I need. So what's the monthly?
I don't know what the monthly is yet.
So the buyers that you said is 1,000 and 5,000. I'm assuming those are down payments. What's the monthly that they're saying they can handle?
Some say they can pay 1,000. The highest I got said they can pay maybe 1,200.
Okay,
A
so
month.
so you got 1,000 to 1,200 a month from your end buyers for a property like that. Okay, all right. So now the question that you need to make sure you know the answer to is, what does that house cost per month, even though it's free and clear, for taxes and insurance, and if there's anything else, a homeowners association fee, maybe some sort of an alarm system that's still got a monthly payment going on there. Maybe there's a home warranty on there that you have to pay for per month or something. Just see what's the grand total of that place costs per month without taking into consideration what a seller finance deal would be. So do you know those numbers?
Well, the taxes on that was going to be like $600 a year, and then I think the insurance like $400 something
a year. So $1,000
so,
a year.
yeah.
So that's $400 a year and $600 a year. So that's $1,000 a year, which puts you at about, I don't know, $85 a month, somewhere around there. So your taxes and insurance are $85 a month, approximately. Okay.
Right.
So now, the individual that owns the property, now it's time for, once you have a buyer that you feel comfortable with, now it's time to go back to the seller and see if you can't negotiate some sort of a seller finance deal. And just like I was saying to Wesley earlier, down the road, he's going to get cashed out. You can't promise when that's going to be, but that's what I'd be looking for, is that kind of situation right there. Now, does he have a dollar figure that he has to have out of this house?
He has to have 75,000.
Okay, so
He
75,000.
won't take it.
All right, so you might be able to get it. You won't take any less than 75,000, right?
That's what he said.
Okay. All right, so
He was
75,000.
firm on that.
All right, so
Now,
75,000.
I got a question along with that.
Jesus. Hold on a minute.
Sorry.
So 75,000 is probably about, you're probably looking at a monthly payment of $600 to $700 a month at the most. All right, with some sort of a mortgage in place, whether he seller finance it or you get financing somewhere else. So right now,
Okay.
you're in great shape because it looks like you can get some decent cash flow out of this property. Okay.
Okay.
Right now, there are several ways of going about this with the seller. Number one is to see if he's interested in doing a seller financed agreement with you. Maybe he's only interested in doing it for just a year or two. So you can go down that road if you wanted to. But within that 1 to 2 years, whatever you've agreed on, you've got to come up with the $75,000 to pay him off. So it could be a monthly payment.
Right.
You might negotiate with him that there's no payments for 1 year and then you pay him off. That's a possibility. All right. So once you have the property creating an income for you, then you can turn around and use it as a reason to go borrow money from a business loan perspective instead of just trying to get a mortgage on it. And then, of course, you can always go the route of trying to get a mortgage on it, just going down the road of just buying a house with a mortgage and just qualifying that direction. And then the last thing is that you could go after a private lender. But you want to make sure that you've got someone already lined up that's paid you their down up front that says that, yes, they're happy to go ahead and do this deal as a buyer if you can get the seller to agree of whatever terms you want them to agree to. So you've got the buyer on the line, And if the seller says still no, then you just hand the buyer their down payment right back to them. Okay? But
Okay.
that's the direction you go there. Now, I know that it's easier to just go grab money and pay the property off. And this one here doesn't look like that would be a bad thing to do, but I just don't want you to that to be your go-to button all the time. Probably about 20% of the deals that we do require us to do something like what we just said there. Most of the time that we do deals nowadays, we're not going and borrowing money, and we're not going and spending a bunch of money on properties. But that 25% that we do, those are the ones that make us the most money. And that's why I do that with some of my students. It makes my students the most money when I set those kind of deals up for them, where they actually do go and either borrow the money or write the check, for the property, and it comes already with an end buyer in place. But I just don't want you, your very first deal, to think that that's the only way you should be going. Okay, so hit me with the rest of your questions.
Okay, there's another part to this. The house was built, it's a brick house, it was built in 1954.
Okay.
And I just need to figure out how to identify if there was asbestos insulation on there, and would that be a problem selling this house?
Okay, it's not really a problem. It's just something that you need to make people aware of if you're aware of it. All right, so I know how to look at asbestos because there's asbestos flooring, there's asbestos ceilings, there's asbestos roofing, there's asbestos siding. That it's not just one thing that you look for and that's asbestos right there and that's it. There's multiple different things that were made from asbestos material. So
okay.
I'm used to that. I've done that so many times. So for you're not used to that. You don't know what it looks like. So probably a smart thing to do is maybe go out to Google and ask, Google all the different things that I just said: flooring, ceilings, roofing, siding, pictures of what asbestos looks like. Asbestos ceiling, asbestos flooring, asbestos roofing, asbestos siding. Just look for pictures of that so that you can identify it that way. The other thing is to maybe get with a builder who's an experienced builder. Now, don't get with somebody who's 30 years old because they've never seen asbestos. But someone who does older restorations, someone who maybe like an older home inspector who knows what all that asbestos is and what it looks like, and pick their brain a little bit. Maybe you get them to come and inspect that home for you, just so that you're aware of whether it has it or not. All right, and then the other thing that you need to be aware of is lead paint. So lead paint would be another possibility. There's probably lead paint in that house. It is a good chance if it was built in the 50s. So
okay, those
are the things that you'd get just a little bit of help. Those kind of home inspectors or a builder that's used to old renovations. There's even some old realtors who know the difference because they're doing what's called a due diligence sheet. They're looking for a disclosure. They're doing a disclosure with the owner of the property and looking for the owner to disclose everything that they know, is negative, bad on the property. And so just looking for that kind of help from someone like that would be a good thing for you to do. Okay, next question on it.
Okay. So on that, now I've noticed that some of the paint on the wall, asbestos wouldn't be in the walls, would it?
No, you're either going to have lath, which is like real thin lattice boards with mortar smeared onto it, or you're going to have an old version of drywall in there. Now, sometimes you end up with some sort of flooring, roofing, siding, ceiling that's covering up asbestos behind it. So that's a possibility. A lot of times you'll find a house that's either got aluminum or vinyl siding on it that was put over top of asbestos. And asbestos is not a problem unless it's breaking. If it's currently breaking, then it can become a problem. But if something was installed over it years ago, there's no issue with the asbestos. You just want to make sure that you're doing the right thing by disclosing that it could be there. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. All right. Now, this is one other question on a property I found. When a house and a property is vacant, and I can't get information on the owner or obtain any kind of information,
Now, where
is
did
there
you?
a process to take the claim?
Yeah. First of all, where did you look for information?
I looked it up on the city accessor site,
Okay.
the county accessor site,
Okay. So you're saying
and
that there's no
it
one
wouldn't
listed
bring
paying the
anything up.
taxes? So you're saying there's no one listed paying the taxes on that property?
Right.
Okay. So then you'd go to the tax assessor's office and you'd say, this property right here, it's vacant. I'm trying to find the owner to see if they are willing. Sometimes they will and sometimes they won't, to share with you who it is that's paying the taxes on that property. Okay? And then if you can find it out that way, then you find it out that way. Did you talk to any of the neighbors of the property?
Well, no, because neighbors are really not around. It's sort of out in the country. It's sort of not.
Well, there could be somebody that lives 2.5 miles down the road that knows that was old Jim's house, and they know how to get a hold of Jim. So you have to put a little bit of effort into the neighborhood, even though it might be everybody's got 75 acres neighborhood. Still, there's people that know who it is that lives there. All right, so there's that. The other thing is, did you ever try mailing anything directly to the house to see what happens?
That's how I got this one. We just wrote it ourselves and wrote the guy a letter, and that's how we got this 1954 model.
No, I'm talking about this place that you said is vacant. That's what I'm talking about.
I haven't yet. I haven't yet. No, but I'm going.
Okay, so mail it there. It might be it might go to that property, or it might be forwarded to someone else that's getting mail forwarded from that property, and you might find them that way. Okay, and then when all else fails, then you can get what's called a skip tracer. And a skip tracer is a person who specializes in finding owners. All right. Now, they don't all do a great job. So you can go the route of a skip tracer, or you can go just a little bit further and get a private investigator and have them look for it. But obviously, the skip tracer and the private investigator are going to cost you some money. So try the other ways first, so that you're not spending but just a few dollars on stamps and mailing and all that. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Just want to make sure on my buyers, with what I have here, do I generally go with who's going to pay the most, or I just try to be fair and do first come, first serve?
Well, it's never first come, first serve. It's a conglomeration of what they can pay a month, what they can pay down, how many incomes are coming into that property. Like the property I just did today, I have two different buyers I could take. One of them will pay more money, but they have one income. The other one that I am taking, they can pay just a little bit less, but they have three different government check incomes. So they both can afford the monthly payment with no problem. But the bottom line is that there's a guaranteed income every month coming into that household, three of them, to be able to pay the payments on that. So that goes a long ways with me. So there's a lot of different things. Also, the other thing is, when I meet with the people, I'm deciding right then and there, is this somebody that I want in one of my properties or not? So there's a lot of different things that go into trying to figure out who I should let into my property. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so just put that back on you. All right, your next question?
All right, on the secret buyer script that you talked about and your massive buyers generating system, are you able to help me set that up, or how do I do that?
Yeah, we can do that. It's something that you can get through us. We can help you with doing that.
Okay.
Okay.
And I was going to ask you one other question. On one of your archives on your membership site, you had an interview with a credit private lender company. And the person you interviewed, when I try to look them up, they're no longer in business. Do you have access to other private lending companies?
Are you talking about John McCauley?
Yeah.
It would be news to me if he's not in business. I hadn't heard anything like that. So he's been in
Joe,
business.
he's still in business because he still contacts us.
Okay, so maybe you got the wrong contact information or something. I don't know, Lewis. So you can get contact information from one of the people here at the office. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll verify
I
that
didn't
we have the
know
right numbers.
if that's the right question or not. There was 2 of those people that you used, that you interviewed one time. One was that Macaulay guy, and then there was another one in one of your earlier Q&As. I didn't know if that person was still available.
I mean, I don't know who you're even referring to, Lewis. I mean, I do so many different things with so many different people, but if a company goes out of business or they stop doing it or they change their contact information, I don't know.
Okay.
All
And
right.
just call back and ask for that company again.
Yeah, but remember now, if you're looking for private funds, you're not going to a professional organization. That's a whole different world there. A private lender is not an organized company. That's a different type of lending, that like John Macaulay and all that. It's not an organized company. A private lender can be your grandmother, can be your uncle, can be a coworker, can be someone that you just met, you developed a relationship with at the hunting club or wherever. It's an individual who wants to get a much better rate of return on their investment capital than what they can get through, like banks and stuff like that, by putting their money with, in a savings account, in a CD, in a money market fund or whatever. They can get a better rate of return from you. So that's what a private lender is.
So
I know that there's a lot of places that advertise that they're private lenders because they're using private individuals' funds, but every lender uses private individuals' funds. So those are not true private lenders. Those are usually more like a hard money lender. Okay? Now, if you got a copy or you wrote down that Scotsman's Guide that was in the advanced event, then there's a ton of lenders in there. There's no private lenders in there, but there's a ton of different types of lenders in there that you can go after funding from that direction as well. Okay, next question.
Okay. All right. I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Oh, did you get to see my business card? What did you think?
I don't know, Lewis. I mean, I see so many people's different things, so that would have to be something I do separately outside of this webinar.
All right. That's fine.
All right.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, you're welcome, bud. Next question.
Okay, the next person is Chris. Chris?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was asking about, I was talking to a potential seller of a property, come to find out that they weren't actually the owner. They were a fix and flipper, basically. And they were working out of Atlanta. They weren't actually working local.
Right.
But they had the property. So I was just looking on suggestions on how you handle working with them, or if you even do, since they're not exactly, well, whether they're easy or not.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say let go of the possibility of the deal. I would say, the flipper, if they're just a flipper, if they're just a wholesaler, then they don't make much money at all. So they may not be looking for much out of the deal. So if you could see if they would allow you to talk directly to the seller with them on the line as well, and you don't even have to know who this seller's, you can find it out anyway because you know the property. But anyway, so I would go that route and see if they're interested in that, where it would be like a three-way call where you're talking to the seller while the flipper is sitting there on the phone listening as well. And some of them will and some of them won't. You're looking for low-hanging fruit. So if it's not low-hanging fruit, then you just move on to the next one.
Yeah, that was my initial impression, because they were, when I started talking a little more creatively, they were like, "Oh no, they're just trying to turn the property and get out from underneath it."
Yeah,
so that wasn't.
But that's because they don't have a clue. In most cases, they don't have a clue how to structure anything different than, okay, they want 60. I'm trying to get 5,000 out of this, so I got to find 65,000, and that's all they understand. And so, and the person said they want 60. Well, the person told Wesley that she wanted 30, And so she might be willing to do that on time, so there's all these things that we can put in front of the seller, but we're not trying to teach the flipper how to become our competition. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Any other questions on that, Chris?
No, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, Vicki, next question.
Okay, I believe Jeff has another question. So here we go.
Okay. Push the button, Jeff.
There you go.
Sorry,
It's all right. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was taking notes. I hit something wrong. Sorry.
Ask your question.
I don't have a question.
Oh, you hit the hand button.
That's what I was
gotcha.
apologizing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Sorry.
A little bit of a dumbass.
We'll blame that on Cheryl. That's Cheryl's fault.
Yeah, thank you. Finally.
Yep.
All right.
All right, next
Okay.
question, hon.
All right. We have Wesley Smith again.
Okay.
Hello, Wesley.
Hey.
Oh, I was expecting it to be Karen this time, but go ahead.
Oh, that's right. We're swapping in and out.
Yeah.
I had a question because I remember the seller saying that they have the deed paperwork for this modular, but they don't have it on them. They got to go get it. Is that something that's recorded at the courthouse like a regular house?
Yeah, so there's a deed for the property. Sometimes it's been homesteaded, and sometimes it
That's
hasn't.
what she mentioned. That's exactly what she mentioned.
Right.
Yep.
And so there's that. And then the other thing is there might be a title. So if there's a title, more than likely it's not a modular. It's more than likely a mobile home. So, and then one word of caution, look at the serial number, the manufacturer's serial number, and see if it says L and R, or if it just says a serial number without an L and an R at the end. If that's the case, then there's a good possibility that that's just one title of, there could be two titles there, one for the left side, one for the right side. So sometimes they do the L and R, and it's one serial number for the two pieces put together. And sometimes there's a serial number that's just a serial number and it says L, and then a serial number that says R, if it's a double wide. So you just
Joe, don't forget it might have an A or a B also.
Yeah, it could have an A or a B also instead of L and R. Instead of left and right, it could be an A and a B. It just depends. Different manufacturers do different things. But yeah, so we ran into an issue. Matter of fact, it was with one of Chris's properties where the title was created on this mobile home many years ago, and the company that sold the original owner, the original seller, the mobile home, the title was put in his name, but the company that sold it to him, they went out of business years later. But then all of a sudden, after all these years, the county tax assessor's office decided to put the title of the mobile home back in the original owner's name, which was the company that sold it to him. And it's like, they do the craziest, stupidest things. So it's just a matter of having to undo that, but it's just aggravating that all of a sudden they do that. But yeah, so you have to pay attention to a deed and then pay attention to a title or two titles. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, because she had mentioned that I think she said her ex-husband has the physical deed, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
we're gonna get like a big drama situation here."
Yeah, the title. But
yeah,
now
so
the other thing that can happen is, let's say that it was way back in the beginning when it was a piece of property and a home put on it, and so there was a deed created and there was a title created when that mobile home was produced, manufactured.
Mhm.
All right,
Mhm.
so then the deed and the title are held by the lender who is used to loaning, and it was there were like Green Tree, Taylor Bean and Whitaker, a few different ones like that were the primary mobile home lenders out there. So they were used to doing mobile homes, so they knew that there should be a deed here attached to this mortgage and a title, just like your car title, attached to this mortgage. And so then when some of those companies started going out of business and their notes were sold off, their mortgages were sold off to other lenders that weren't used to doing mobile homes, they never knew to even look for a title. So then titles got lost right there were thrown away, destroyed, whatever. So then it's a matter of going after a title bond. There's a few insurance companies that do title bonds all over the place, so that you can get a new title created for the property in the event that the old one is lost or damaged or what have you. Okay?
Right. Yeah, that's my whole thing. So it sounds like a whole other seminar for this modular mobile home business.
Well, there is a program that I have that is a secret program that explains a whole lot more of that and in detail on how and what to do with all that stuff.
Sure, it'll be useful. What if this? What if that? Type stuff for sure.
That's right.
And then, so is it a different type of insurance policy that you would hold as the homeowner, deed holder of this thing?
No, it's the same type of insurance policy. The only thing is, some of the main insurance companies, like State Farm or those kind, some of them may not write a policy on it based on that it's a mobile home or that it's in a certain area. And so in that case, then you're going with your substandard insurance broker or, carrier agent. And then they usually write the policies on them. But there's nothing different about the policy. It's still the same kind of thing. But remember, we just had a lady, matter of fact, we're going to closing with her. Pete and Bill are doing this one. But there was a lady who her mobile home caught on fire. She owed, I think, like 80-some thousand on it, and it caught on fire, so it was a total loss. So they paid her 90-some thousand, and she gets to keep the land. So now she's selling the land. But the insurance is handled just the same way as a stick-built home. Now, the reason I brought that up is, but you can take and have that mobile home removed and another used one put there for a whole lot less than $90,000. Whereas if it's a stick-built home and something happens to it and you go to repair it, typically you're not making any money off the insurance. You're making enough money to pay to get it fixed, but that's it. All the money's gone. But with mobile homes, there's a lot of different things that you can do. There's so much more money to be made off of them, and they're typically below medium price range, which is where I like everybody to be with their real estate deals, so they can pass on to others.
And with the affordable house shortage, they're probably in high demand too once you get one.
It's true. It's very true.
Let me ask you this: does a regular title report at your closing attorney's office reveal all of this about the title?
Yeah. The only thing is, every attorney is just as good as what they understand. So the first time you're doing one, you might want to say, "Hey, I just want to make sure about the titles here and all that kind of stuff." And so there's a way where they can retire the titles. They can, they charge a fee for that. There's all different kinds of things that you can do there, but your attorney should be able to handle that with no problem. The only thing your attorney can't do is stop somebody from doing something foolish like what I just said the tax assessor's office did. I mean, it's just all of a sudden something goofy will happen out there like that, and then you have to go undo it. But it's not a big deal. You're still making money off the property. You just got a little paperwork drill to go through.
Right, and that manufacturer that made the place probably isn't even in business anymore anyway. So then you have to go through
a possibility.
Yeah. Crazy.
Very good.
Well, cool. Thanks, Joe, so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, Vicki, next question. Vicki, you're muted. Vicki, you're still muted.
Hey there.
All right.
Okay, we're going back to Lewis again.
Okay.
Lewis?
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can.
All right. Hey, how do I identify the open listing?
Okay, so you're asking, that's based on the agreement between the realtor and the owner of the property. So a open listing means that the realtor agreed that the seller can sell the property, and if the seller finds a buyer and sells the property, they owe the realtor no commission. If the realtor finds the buyer and brings them to the table, then the realtor is owed the commission. So an open listing says that you can do it back and forth like that. Now, one word of caution: never let anybody get you pulled into doing, trying to sell the property at the same time the seller's trying to sell the property, at the same time the realtor's trying to sell the property. No, get all those people out of the way, You don't want all those mixed messages, and you don't want people acquiring your buyers from you and all that kind of stuff. And you don't want any kind of a court issue where, I brought Bob in as a buyer. No, you didn't. Bob called me. He's a friend of mine from the fishing club, or all that stuff. You don't want all that. So just one. When you're doing it, it's just you and no one else.
Okay, and on that same question on that, there's a place around the corner where we live. There's a couple of different realtor signs on there. That doesn't have anything to do with an open listing, I guess, huh?
No, that's just that realtor advertising it. The realtor is going to advertise it. If they've agreed to an open listing, they're just saying that the seller has the right to try to continue selling it. And if the seller finds a buyer and the realtor doesn't, then the seller doesn't owe the realtor any commission. But the realtor's trying to sell it also, so that's why they're putting the signs there. So if it's an open listing, then it means that they both can do it. If it's a closed listing, it's still gonna appear the same. Only in the contract, it's only the realtor. So if it sells while the listing agreement is in effect, the realtor deserves a commission, even if even if the seller found the buyer.
Okay. All right. That's all.
All right. Vicki, any other questions out there?
All right, last call for questions. Anybody else have a question? Raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, we've got Jeff.
Okay.
All right. Jeff?
I meant it this time.
Okay.
I meant it.
All right, we're ready for you, Jeff. Go.
During our last course that we had at the hotel, you talked about selling one of your properties via a nonprofit program. I was just curious how that went or is going or at all.
Yep, the contracts have been signed, so now they're asking me more questions about, they want to know all the different things, like how are there outdoor lights, how many parking spaces, all different kinds of things they need to plug into their program for this. We've already done the contract, so now they're looking for all these questions to be answered. So this will go on for the next probably 2 or 3 months on this process.
But it's all legit and above board. And going forward.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be messing with it if it wasn't legit.
But I get it.
Yeah.
I was just curious if it was smooth or if it was rocky.
Well, I mean, there's no check at closing, so ask me once the check is at closing. So far, everything they're doing makes perfect sense. So, okay.
Okay, that's what I was just curious about. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Lewis has a question for you. Okay, Lewis. Lewis, you're muted.
Hey.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. You talked about controlling your buyers. How do you control them to a point where you don't lose them until you get something to present to them?
You can't. You'll drive yourself insane with that, Lewis. So especially the buyers that you've talked about so far. Now, so I'm going to talk about the ones that you already have. So let's say they're $1,000 to $1,200 a month, and they're anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 down. Okay, so you're going to have a bunch of them. They'll go on the list, and you're going to let them know each time you have another property. All right, now let's say you've got a buyer who's $30,000 down and can do $2,000 a month. Well, that buyer, you're trying to put them on your down payment growth program list. You're kind of your VIP type buyers where you're working with them more personally. So it's either you or maybe your wife working with them. They're just trying to find out more about what it is they're looking for, because you're going out and trying to find the deal that fits what they're looking for. And so those you kind of control there. But I'm not going out and doing any of that if they haven't paid me the down payment up front. Now, if I can't find them something, or they find something between the time that we started and them finding something, if they find something, then I'm going to hand them their money right back to them. But I'm not going to go out there and search for a property for one specific buyer and try to hang on to them, all that kind of stuff, because you'll find out that you'll waste a lot of time chasing that. So you don't want to become a slave to that. Okay.
Now, let's say the buyers that call me, most of what I get are renters that just, I'm getting a lot of people that their numbers are so low that they can't afford a pack of peanuts.
Okay.
But let's say they're in a place, is it a good idea to ask, say, would the landlord be willing to sell to you, or what you've already paid them, or can I work with the landlord and the renter at the same time?
Okay, so you're talking about it's somebody who contacted you through your marketing for buyers, and they're renting a place, and then you want to talk to the landlord that they're renting from to see if you can make a deal.
Yeah, to keep them where they're at instead of trying to go find them a place.
Yeah, so you're trying to keep somebody in a property that you said can't afford a pack of peanuts. So that doesn't make any sense to me. Why you'd even put all that effort into that?
Well, I mean, let's say the numbers they're giving me just aren't qualifying them to buy a house. But if I could turn the tables and the landlord would say, okay, we'll be willing to sell to you, maybe they'll come up with the money that they originally needed to have to buy the place.
Okay,
so they just weren't willing to show those cards at the moment.
So then for you to put that effort forth, they will have already given me the money, the down payment money, saying that they can do this before I negotiate the rest of the deal out with the seller. And if the seller won't agree, then I hand them their money back. If the seller does agree, okay, but I didn't waste a bunch of time going after it without being paid up front.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll be chasing your tail. Otherwise, Lewis, you'll be chasing your tail forever, and I know you don't want to do that.
No, I really don't. So, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, Vicki, anything else?
And anyone else have any other questions before we end this?
We're going to go going once, going twice.
Jeff said, great webinar, thanks.
Going 3 times. All right, guys, so that's the end of the question. So the last thing I want to say is there's so many different ways to looking at retiring. I've retired twice. I'm about to do it a 3rd time, and then I'm just going to work with students. But I retired when I was 38. I retired when I was 43, and I'm about to do it again. Retiring is a great thing as long as you keep your mind focused on, you got to have something to do. You can't just go sit at home and do nothing every day and watch CNN and Fox News battle each other over political issues. You got to have something that's going to keep you alive and functioning and enjoying life. But when I talk about retiring is putting yourself in a financial position to where you don't have to go do such and such or so and so unless you want to, and then finding something that you really want to do or like to do. The last thing in the world you should do, if you absolutely love what you're doing for a living, the last thing in the world you should do is try to figure out how to stop doing that. But that's probably about all I've got to say about that. Just make sure that you're not all of a sudden going to become a couch potato and put yourself in the grave early because you stopped having a purpose in life. So make sure that you're focused on that. We've seen that so many times with family members and stuff where they just didn't have any plan. They just always focused on, well, when I get to a certain age, I'm going to retire and give up all this. But have some sort of plan so that it makes sense for you. Okay, guys, I enjoyed that. Great questions today, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye now.